Good morning, and welcome to a special Sober.Coffee rebroadcast event. Over the next few weeks, we're going to revisit our most impactful conversations with the late Dr. John. John spent a lifetime connecting with people, sharing a compassionate view on the dis-ease of addiction in all its forms. His gentle approach provided a roadmap to sobriety for thousands and thousands of individuals, and we are honored to share the recordings he left behind for us. We hope that you enjoy the listen, embrace the lessons, and apply the learnings. Godspeed to you, and may John rest in eternal bliss.
Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at SoberCoffeePod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Glenn.
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
Dude, we're going to need a longer introduction.
Why is that? Because you didn't have a chance to drink enough coffee? Or
Oh,
what?
no, I got my coffee. Don't worry about that. That's always my priority. So
Why do we need a longer intro?
Well, because I hear rumors that we might be going on more social network platforms.
Oh, you did hear that?
I did, yeah.
Which ones now?
Well, I can't say. I mean, I could say, but then I'd have to kill you, and then it'd be the Mike show.
Well, see, here's the problem: is we don't know when these are going to drop, so
Right.
it's hard to really line up the excitement.
Well, let's just say then,
Something's coming.
Let's just, keep coming back.
Keep coming back. I love that.
I'm going to coin that. Keep coming back.
You know what? I've never heard that before. That's a really good phrase. So how you doing this morning?
Hey, doing fantastic, man.
Good deal.
Yeah, good to be back in the shop.
Absolutely, man. Always. And, it's always love to connect with our listeners and, keep writing us, podcast at Sober.Coffee.
Yeah. Send those emails.
And we're on Instagram and we're on Twitter somewhere.
Come on, Mom. Email me.
Mom's our biggest listener. I love
Mom
it.
is our biggest listener.
I love it.
So listen, we got a table for three today.
Oh, man, I love Table for Three.
Yeah.
What's going on today?
Well, there's I wanted to get, I've got a little problem with my toe, and I wanted to get a nurse in the house.
Uh-huh.
Right? But there was no nurses available. I Googled nurse.
Oh, no.
And it only came up with like 14 million. So I got a doctor.
Well, doctors are great also. Actually, I've been looking forward to this doctor visit.
Yeah, seriously. This, hey, John, good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. John.
Dr. John. So we've referenced Dr. John for those listeners that have been with us since the beginning. We can't help but quote the good doctor. Now, the good doctor also quotes another good doctor, I guess. So, he's a quoter, but because I always say that's great. He goes, it's not my thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my original thought.
Nothing original.
Nothing original. Well,
That's awesome. That's all.
That's not true. There are a couple. We'll uncover.
Let me jump in before you start rolling out with our strategy here. Dr. John, great to see you.
Good to see you, Glenn.
I've known Dr. John probably 12 years or so. Very instrumental when he was in the room, always welcoming and always listened to what he had to say. Doc, it took a couple years to sink in. I think we all know that, but
You're on the slow train.
I'm definitely on the slow train. But, it's great to have you here. I really value you and your commitment to sobriety and the people in sobriety and the value that you brought to my sobriety, man. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate that, and it's mutual.
Yeah, and on a serious note, I do too. I have a history with John, and when I was fresh in the program, I'll never forget it. It was very instrumental in my life because I was fresh in the program, and I'm walking into these rooms, and mind you, I didn't want any new friends. I didn't want new acquaintances even.
Well, you probably didn't know what you wanted.
No, I didn't know what I wanted. All I knew is I wanted to not be like I was, and so this gentleman, John, stepped up to me and said, how about we go get a coffee? And I'm like, coffee? We're going to get what is this guy? What does he want? What's his angle, right?
What's he going to sell me?
And, we had a great coffee, man. He walked me through alcoholism, which I tried to do a couple episodes ago, the best I could of a napkin analogy of what alcoholism is all about.
We have the master of that ism
I know,
here in the house with us
is
today.
in the house. So yeah, very instrumental. And he even bought the coffee, if I recall. So.
I hope I can do it without a napkin.
Yeah, right.
Well, we have some note cards here if you need it.
Yeah. So when I asked John to come in, he says, "What do you want me to talk about?" One of my favorite John quotes is, I'm not going to quote it. I'm going to let him quote it. But it talks to the first step. It talks to the first step. And it's very complicated. The first step of Alcoholics Anonymous is that we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives have become unmanageable. And I'm unbundling that sentence and I'm trying to figure it all out and looking at the words. And then John said, "Let me break it down for you." What words of advice did you give me, John, about step one?
I don't remember exactly what you're talking about.
Well, you said, "Here's the deal. You're fucked. Now what?"
Jeez. Can you say that on a podcast?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
you can.
Yes, indeed.
Do you want me to
Please.
expound?
Yeah, expound on that.
Well, let me preface my comments by saying that I am very, very enthusiastic about this program. I love this program. As you've heard me say at meetings, I think this is the best therapy on the planet, unless you have a major mental disorder, such as schizophrenia, for example, for which medication is necessary. And contrary to popular belief, the vast majority of alcoholics do not have a major mental disorder. There's a lot of so-called experts in the field who say that 80-90% of alkies have comorbidities and dual diagnoses. Mm-hmm. Well, we call them character defects, okay? But as far as true mental disorder, so unless you have a major mental disorder, in which case you ought to go see a shrink, I think that AA is the best therapy on the planet. And I'll tell you quickly why. All the other therapies, and I'm oversimplifying some, and some of my colleagues, if they're listening, will be angry with me, but all the other therapies, whether it's psychiatry, psychology, pastoral counseling, psychotherapy, etc., basically aim at two things. Number one is symptom relief, make you feel better. You know, if you have anxiety, we'll give you some Xanax. If you have depression, we'll give you some Prozac. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if we can't give you symptom relief, then we're going to analyze and try to figure out why you are the way you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. What AA has taught me, although it doesn't say so in exactly these words, AA has taught me is that feeling better and getting well are two different things. And secondly, insight and 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee.
Not anymore. You're change that to $5 now.
Right, you're dating yourself, right?
Who gives a rat's ass why you is the way you is? What are you going to do about it?
God, I spent so long trying to figure that out, and finally got to the point it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
I really spent a long time.
I spent a couple bucks trying to figure it out too.
Yeah. Although, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, I'm not sure I agree when people say I no longer ask why questions. First of all, I'm not sure that's possible. I think human nature is that when I'm disturbed, my first thing is why? Why do I feel this way? And I think it is important to have some understanding of why we drink. And I know that goes against the grain, but in medicine there's a saying that your treatment can only be as effective as your diagnosis is accurate. Okay? Aristotle said, if your major premise is false, all your conclusions will be false. So if the major premise is that all men are 6 feet tall, the minor premise is Mike is 5'8". Well, the conclusion must be Mike is not a man because the major premise is correct. Okay? What I'm leading up to is the first step, I think, is the very foundation for the program. And I think anybody in AA would agree with that. That step one is the foundation. We hear it all the time. It's the only step you've got to work perfectly.
Right.
Now, so I'm very passionate about the program in general. And I say that because, as you know from meetings, I get excited sometimes. And I sound like I'm yelling.
Say it isn't so.
Especially first step meetings.
I sound like I'm yelling at people and scolding it, and I don't mean it that way. More specifically, why I'm so passionate about this topic is that everyone on the planet pretty much knows that if you have an alcohol problem, AA is the place to go. Secondly, AA is universally available. You don't even need Obamacare to come to a meeting. You don't even need $1. And despite that, and there are tens of millions of alcoholics in our country alone, only about 20% of alcoholics ever come to AA. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
What's even more incredible is that of that 20% who walk through the doors of AA, approximately 90% don't stick around. Now, what do we say at every meeting? What do we read at every meeting? Rarely will a person fail if they thoroughly follow the path.
Right?
I believe that's a fact. In fact, I would almost say maybe never will a person fail if they thoroughly follow the path. And yet 90% fail.
Why?
For 40 years, I've been asking myself why. Now, I've had the privilege of talking to, over the years, hundreds of those people who left the program, both when I worked in the field and since I'm in the program. And without realizing it, I was doing a study. I asked them, what happened? Why did you give up on AA or Al-Anon or CA or NA or whatever your 12-step program was? And everybody has their own unique set of excuses. My sponsor was a jerk. Meetings were boring. I was too busy with blah, 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 blah.
You must have talked to my sponsees.
But the bottom line I found, what they all have in common, is people who don't thoroughly follow the path are people who don't really believe what the first step means, in my opinion. Okay. You know, the first step says you're screwed. The first step says you suffer from a terminal illness and you're going to die. Now, you know, if you came to me as a physician with a headache and I took a CAT scan of your brain and I showed you the picture and you see this circle here, this lesion, it's a malignant tumor. It's going to kill you. It may take a while, but it's going to kill you. And it's going to kill you from the inside out. That's what alcoholism does. The good news is, if you thoroughly follow this path I'm going to lay out for you, not only will you recover, but you're going to be healthier and happier than ever been before. You'd follow that path, right?
Sure.
Everybody would.
Right.
Now, with alcoholism, we give lip service. It's a progressive disease. It's an ultimately fatal disease. But we don't follow the path. It's a malignancy of the soul. I just made that one up.
Oh, there we go.
You can't.
Original thought.
You can't take an X-ray of it. Okay? Now, let me share just briefly, so that I don't get too preachy and too pedantic, my struggle with it. Okay? I'll try to be as succinct as I can. As you know, I was an episodic drunk, a binge drinker. And for 20 years, and unlike some people, I knew from the get-go that my drinking was abnormal. I didn't know about a disease concept. Frankly, I don't even care now about that. But I knew that it was pathological, as evidenced by the fact that I lied about it, I snuck it, I hid it. And I learned early on that it was not a good idea, because bad things often happen, or more accurately, I acted badly and then regretted it. So time and time again, when the poop would hit the fan, I'd put the plug in the jug. And I would not drink for days, weeks, sometimes months. And when I didn't drink, things got better. You know, I didn't...
Go ahead, say it.
I didn't pee in bed at night. You know? It's amazing.
You pissed myself, man.
That's
great.
right.
It's amazing
awesome.
when you don't drink a quart of vodka before, you know. And I remember my kid's birthday, and et cetera. And I didn't puke in the morning. So I knew those 20 years that I shouldn't be drinking that way. It's a bad idea, but I kept doing it. Now, for 20 years, I thought, what is wrong with me? Why? And I think, you know, the disease concept is a logical concept. And the only logical explanation for somebody to drink the way I drank is, A, I had to be pretty stupid. That would explain it. Can't put two and two together. But I'm not stupid. Well, if I'm smart enough to know what I'm doing, and I keep doing it, I must be weak. That would explain it. Because time and time again, I would resolve, and I meant it. I'm not going to do this again. Well, in all other areas of my life, I'm not smart. I'm not stupid. I'm not weak. The only thing left is I must be bad. Because when I drank, I acted badly. I betrayed my own value system. When I came into AA, I pretty much thought I was a bad guy. You know, I thought I was a scumbag. And I got news for you. That's pretty much what the whole world thinks, okay? Including the experts in the field. Even though we get lip service to it's a disease, you know, it looks like we are idiots or weak or bad or some combination. I came into AA and I learned that I drank the way I drank, despite those painful consequences, despite what alcohol did to me, because of what alcohol does for me. Alcohol soothes my ism. Alcohol gives me relief for myself. Those periods when I didn't drink, things got better, but I didn't get better. I think we call that being dry.
Right.
But I didn't know that. Now, with this stupid, bad, and weak, so in my early times, in my first couple of years in AA, I thought I'm bad, and I sat there, and a lot of meetings I think still do this, the mea culpa version. Oh, I'm an idiot, and I'm a scumbag, and I'm a horse thief, and I'm a liar, and I just got to get honest. And I thought, you know, somehow I'm not a bad person. I acted badly, certainly under the influence.
But you never stole a horse.
Never stole a horse. But I thought, you know I'm not stupid, I'm not weak. I thought it was bad, But I'm learning that I'm not a bad person. I acted badly, and I got to stop that. Then I said, well, it's a disease. Oh, okay. Well, what kind of disease? And right from the get-go, that struck me as a bit of a cop-out. And I got news for you. Most people think it's a cop-out, okay? Because, and this, again, sounds like blasphemy. And let me, again, re-emphasize, I'm a totally A guy, and I think the first step is the foundation. And I know the first step says I'm powerless over alcohol. But my thinking was, my disease is not alcohol. What I'm powerless over is not alcohol. What I can't control is not alcohol. Okay? I control my drinking many times. In fact, only alcoholics need to control their drinking. Can you control how many bananas you eat, Glenn?
I can.
But you probably don't know, unless you have a banana problem.
No, I can just really control. I never crave a banana.
So you don't need to control it. Because you don't crave it, you don't need to control it.
Right, I don't need to control it.
So only alcoholics need to control their drinking. And again, when somebody comes into AA, what's the first thing AA asks of us? Stop drinking. Now, if in fact alcohol was my disease, if alcohol is the thing that I can't control, asking me to stop drinking is a cruel request. That's like telling a drowning person, hey, are you drowning? Yes. Can you swim? Do you admit you can't swim? I admit it, I can't swim. What do I do? Swim. Right. Newcomer comes in. You admit you're an alcoholic? Yes. Do you admit that you can't control it? Yes. What do I do? Stop drinking. Okay. So my take on it is, and I think this is a problem ultimately for that 90% of people don't stick around. They don't articulate it, don't verbalize it, because I think there is a not so subtle peer pressure in AA that don't question anything. Keep it simple, stupid. Well,
I'm not stupid.
I understand that, but that's not only not helpful, it's cruel. I'm not stupid. Or don't drink, don't think, go to meetings. Now I immediately start thinking about not thinking.
Right.
Okay. I had trouble falling asleep last night because I was trying really hard not to think about this session.
Right.
Because I don't know what to expect.
I know, right?
So my process of this was, well, I'm not really powerless over alcohol. I can't control my drinking. Now, when I control it, I don't enjoy it. And when I enjoy it, and so, okay, so it's the character defects. That's the problem. 6 and 7 step. God, remove the defects. Remove, and what is that? Bad behavior? No, that's my job. It's my job to put the plug in the jug. I can't keep myself dry. Okay? I can do dry by myself. I don't need you, the program, to do dry. But it's miserable. So what is what is the disease that I'm powerless over? My character defects? My character defects don't define me. Okay? My bad behavior is my responsibility. And ultimately, I think working the steps is to don't be a dick. Clean up your act rightly in spite of your thoughts and feelings. Okay? So the only thing left then is the way I tick on the inside. So my take on the first step, and I know people say, oh, you complicate everything, and should I quote Oliver Wendell Holmes about the simplicity that precedes complexity may be comforting, but it's worthless. The simplicity that follows complexity may be discomforting, but it's priceless. Okay? And I've got to wrestle with this. I can't feign the program. And I see people do that. And I did this for the first year and a half. I sat at meetings and I had this grin on my face. I love you all. I am so grateful.
How'd that work for you?
I'm happy, joyous, and free.
Because that's so you.
And on the inside, I'm thinking, screw this.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but since I mentioned that first year and a half, I was miserable. I was a so-called high-bottom drunk. No such thing as a high bottom. Bottom's an inside job, and high bottom's an oxymoron. But outwardly, my life was still pretty much intact. So things didn't get much better. When I first got sober, the only thing that changed is my soul food had been taken from me. The thing that gave me relief from myself, booze, was out of the picture. So I was miserable. And after about a year and a half, an old-timer, he's long dead now, Charlie Healy, pulled me aside. And he said, hey, kid, I was 33 at the time. He says, you're not coming back, are you? And I thought, whoa, this guy's psychic. But I thought, I might as well level with him. I says, no, I'm not. He said, why? I said, it's not working for me. He says, what do you mean? I said, I'm not feeling all this joy and gratitude and spirituality. He said, so? I said, so it's not working for me. He said, where'd you get the idea this is a feel-good program? Okay? You want to feel good? Go get drunk. Go get laid. Go do some drugs. You want to get well, stick around. But I went off on a tangent. So with the first step, my passion is that I am convinced that everybody has their own set of excuses. And one of the common mistakes is people judge their own recovery. Again, I'm going on a tangent, but I worked in the field for years. And time again, so we would discharge somebody from our rehab, and I'd see him for a follow-up visit. And the visit would go one of two ways. I'd say, Mike, you're 2-3 weeks out of the hospital. How are you doing, Mike? Mike says, I'm doing great, Doc.
Sure.
Really? Then tell me about it. Oh,
Sounds like one of my answers.
doing great. The wife and I are getting along. I'm working out. I'm back on the job, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, good. I says, now, I told you to go to 5 meetings a week? Yeah, I decided I just need one. Yeah. And didn't I tell you to call your sponsor every day? The guy's kind of a jerk. I don't call him. How about praying morning and night? Nah, I don't buy that God thing. I'm an agnostic. So I say to Mike, I'm glad you're feeling good, and I'm glad things are going well. But in my opinion, you're not doing well. Or in comes Glenn. Glenn, how you doing? Yeah, this is post-discharge. Terrible. What's going on? Oh, I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Wife and I aren't getting along. My sponsor's an idiot.
It's like he knows us.
I know, he's like, and then Dr. John says, come here, let me give you a hug.
Yeah, right.
Because you're being real.
Yeah, meetings are boring, this and that. I say, well, okay, that's good. That's how you're feeling. How about meetings? Yeah, I go to meetings, like you told me, 5 times a week. How about your sponsor? Yeah, I call the idiot every day, like you told me. How about prayers? I don't buy this God crap, but I'm saying, Glenn, you're doing well. Very important, how you're feeling and how you're doing are two different things. And one thing I tell newcomers, never assess your own progress. It drives them crazy. When I ask you how you're doing, not how you're feeling. If I ask you how you're feeling, you can answer.
Mm-hmm.
Only if I ask you what are you thinking about, only you can answer.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask you how are things going in your life, you know better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If those were reliable criteria for progress or lack of progress in a program, then you could assess your own progress. But those are not reliable criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I can tell you from experience, there are times when I feel like crap.
Yeah.
There's times when nothing makes sense to me. There's times, and I'm not talking years ago, I'm talking even recently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not feeling it. I don't feel connected. Okay? But that doesn't mean I'm not doing well.
Right.
In fact, those are times of the greatest growth I have found.
Yeah.
So here's where I picked up on that. Just because, and I remember you, just because you're not feeling well doesn't mean you're not doing well. And here's where I really picked up on that. I've shared this before, but I've, a process of losing weight, and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll feel like crap. I'll feel bloated. I'll feel fat. And I'm like, fuck, this shit ain't working. I'm tired of this shit. And then I go get on the scale and I lost 3 pounds. And so that makes it click. It's probably a real life experience of experience what you just laid out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't matter how I feel. I just keep doing what I'm doing. And it eventually, Mikey is a good, the way I put it is you can't read the label on your own jar. And Mikey helps read my label. My sponsor helps read my label. People in the room who I know very well now and have great relations, they come up and, hey, man, Glenn, you seem kind of off.
Right.
Right. So I love that.
Yeah, there were so many nuggets in there, and I love it. You say, I'm not going to go on a tangent. Let me go on a tangent. And I'm so glad you did, because there was just so many nuggets that I need to go back and re-listen to this, because there were so many things. Let's go back to the first step. So you're screwed. What do you do about it? I think what I heard you say was you just learn to live in that reality. The reality that people are telling you, that read your own label. Learn to live in that reality, because, again, I'm still on the pink cloud, right? So I've got a couple days of sobriety underneath me, and people go, why is he smiling, right? Well, first of all, because I paid my dentist, I don't know, $50,000 for this smile, so I'm gonna show it off, right? But the question becomes, what do you do about it? The first step, you're screwed. Look, life as you know it is going to be different, is what the words bopping around my head. That's a very scary thing for a newcomer.
It should be. If I tell you that you're dying of a brain tumor,
right,
I hope you're scared enough. I know Glenn and I disagree a little bit on this, although I've thought about what you said. I've always said pain for me is the only motivator. Not only the best motivator, the only motivator. Although I agree with you, in time, positive motion sits in. Not just
that's where I'm at.
Yeah, not just the fear of the pain, but
I want more.
The joy. Exactly. I want more of the good stuff.
I want more of what I got. Yep.
Yeah. The critical point I'm trying to make, and I don't want to dilute it, is that it breaks my heart that so many people don't stick around. The majority, whether it's 85 or 90 or 92%, I don't know. But it's incredible to me that people who are suffering from a malady, a spiritual malady, that is ultimately fatal. And as you know, my son died from this disease 7-8 months ago. Okay? So I know from personal experience, this is real shit. It'll kill you. And people don't follow the path because they don't really believe what the first step means. And in my opinion, what the first step tells me is I'm powerless over my alcoholism. Powerless over alcohol is just an admission ticket. The painful consequences of my drinking brought me to AA. I didn't come to AA because it was a lifelong ambition or because I wanted to get spiritual. See what I'm saying? The character defects, and I think that's one of the misconceptions that is very pervasive in the program, that it's a get-good program. You know, we talk about, and that's important. I think working the steps basically is to behave well, to be a good, loving Christian, if you will, person. But even when I do that, even when I put the plug in the jug, and that's my job, and even when I behave well with the help of a sponsor, act rightly in spite of my thoughts and feelings, even when I do that to the best of my ability, I still have alcoholism. I still tick that way. I've been in the program for 42 years, and I'm still basically a fear-based guy. Now, maybe I'm a real slow study. Maybe,
aren't we all fear-based guys at the very end?
Maybe I'm a chronically, but the reason I need to continue to work a program is because I have alcoholism, not alcoholism. Okay?
John, good stuff. You know, I can't believe our
Well, I can tell Mikey's starting to wrap things up, and I got two things.
Yeah, go ahead, fire away.
Before you land the plane. Okay, so for me, and I'm talking about the 90%, right, that don't come back. For me, I mean, in and out. I played this really cool game called What Hospital Am I Going to Next? And for me, I had to get to a breaking point where my ego said, because every time I kept saying, I've got this. I'll go to meetings when I feel like it. I'll go to meetings when I have time. You know, I'll work the steps. I'll call my sponsor. I'm too busy. Or I'll text them, you know, and relapse after relapse after relapse. I had to get to the point of surrender where I said, and I literally said these words, and I still say them today, I will do whatever you tell me to do. I just cannot take that next drink.
Thoroughly following the path.
Yeah. And you know, I was finally at that point, and if they told me to jump off a building, I would have jumped off a building because what was factual in my mind, my way was not working and will never work. I tried. Now, I hear about some people that do Coke while they drink. That might be my next solution. But I haven't tried that. But everything else I've tried.
We are not doctors. We do not recommend anything that we say on the show.
Please listen to our disclosures. Right. Okay. So one last question for you is, what do you say to people, because we hear it a lot, what do you say to the person that says AA doesn't work?
My answer is because you're not working it.
You're not working it.
Love that answer.
You're not working it. I mean, AA is I think the principles of AA are perfect. The people in AA, including myself, are not. And I think there's a lot of distortions, a lot of misunderstanding. Of course, it means I don't agree with it. Yeah, and I've addressed some of them, like what does the first step really mean? You know, it's not a feel-good program. I don't have alcoholism. I have alcoholism. It's not a get-good program. You know, it's a get-well program. I can keep myself dry. I'm not powerless over that. I can make myself good. I'm not powerless over that. But I cannot get myself well. It's a program of transformation, not reformation. I can reform myself. And during those 20 years I talked about, it was a cycle of drink, do bad things, regret it, and then I go for weeks, months of compensating. And it wasn't a manipulation. I was being devious. I'd be super daddy, super husband. I'd work 16 hours a day. Okay, I'd get real good.
Not sustainable, though.
No, it gets boring, and nobody notices. Nobody notices after a while.
You should put a billboard up.
Yeah.
I'm John. I'm better.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. Transformational. I love that. That's what I can relate to.
I'm telling you, I just would recommend anybody. This is a re-listen to. There were so many nuggets in there. John, thank you so much. There's so many nuggets in there. Will you come back?
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, John.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man.
Take care, Mikey.
Hey, see you, Glenn.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, The AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.